Thanks.
Yeah, welcome to the Aro Benaiah Show. Today I'm joined by William Holsten, entrepreneur, corporate innovator, and author of How to Avoid Unintentional Blunders that derails entrepreneurs' success. With nearly 4 decades of experience leading global innovations and mentoring small business, William specializes in helping entrepreneurs avoid costly mistakes and turn potential setback into lessons that fuel success. Let's dive into this journey and discover how to goof-proof your business. It's really a pleasure having you on the show, Will.
Thank you, Earl. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So, Williams, what was it like growing up for you?
Growing up, I'm in the US, and I grew up first in Brooklyn, New York, and then my family moved to suburban Mineola on a place called Long Island, New York. It was typical American suburban baby boom times. I was one of many, many, many children in my grammar, grade schools, high schools. I enjoyed sports, playing Little League Baseball, being on bowling leagues, things like that. After high school, went to college, and I was a trumpet player in my high school band too. I enjoyed the music. After high school, I went to university and got a degree first in communications, and then my master's is in marketing and international business. That led me down a path of first working for communications agencies and public relations, and then an advertising agency. I became a copywriter. And that later led me to a corporate job where I was in the in-house advertising department of a company called Sterling Drug, became Sterling Winthrop, which was later bought by Bayer, which I stayed with, and I was with that whole company for a total of nearly 40 years.
Ouch.
In marketing jobs, in headquarters kind of coordinating jobs, and for the final 10 plus years, I was in R&D, in innovation. I was in Bayer, I was in the consumer medicines group, consumer health, where our products are like paracetamol and aspirin, brand names Bayer aspirin. I was the brand manager for Alka-Seltzer for a while. And then I led creativity workshops with global brand teams to help them solve problems, help them develop strategies, and help them generate new product ideas for the global brands that the company sold.
Wow, that was
It was a wonderful time.
amazing. Actually, it's really amazing. A whole lot of learning here and there, and decades to actually working. And it's really, really loving hearing from you, Williams.
Can I add to that, though? In my final 10 plus years at Bayer, that's when I had my entrepreneurial side business. And that was where we invented and marketed carnival games, backyard party games. And that is where I got my indoctrination into making stupid mistakes. So when I retired from Bayer only 2 years ago, I sat down and wrote a book. I'll tell you about it later, but it includes my story of how I developed the carnival games, what stupid mistakes I make, and then from my corporate experience, it includes 10 tools entrepreneurs can use so they can help avoid making those mistakes and goof-proof their business. Both work together.
Wow, really, really amazing. And also, what actually sparked your interest in helping entrepreneurs avoid mistake?
Well, because I was one, it was my side business, and I made some serious ones. We were in serious financial trouble. I had health issues. I had to escape and survive all that. And I wanted to share that experience with tools I wished I had had to avoid making those mistakes. Also, since I retired, in the US, there's an organization called SCORE, SCORE, that benefits entrepreneurs by giving them free resources like mentoring. I'm a mentor with them, and I see a new customer, a new mentee once every week, so I can help them grow, help them understand the basic business planning process, where to find funding, how to do their marketing. So it's free advice as well as tools and webinars they can watch to get good at some skill sets.
Wow, really?
So my interest in helping them is because I see them every week, learning what their needs are and giving back.
Wow, amazing, amazing. So, can you share your own moment for your own entrepreneurial journey that shape your perspective?
I'll go back to when we invented our first game. where I made my first big mistake. It was, I'm one of 6 children, and in one hot summer, my sister's daughter was doing a carnival for a charity called Make-A-Wish, and they wanted all of her aunts and uncles to come and bring something to help them make money on that backyard carnival. For that event, we went to a rental store company and said, can you please rent us a dunk tank? A dunk tank is, at many, many carnivals, it's where there's a big, gigantic tub of water and somebody sits in a platform above it, and then a player throws a ball, hits the target, and if they hit the bullseye, the platform falls out and the person falls into the dunk tank,
Wow.
into the water. And so we reserved that for this event, and 2 weeks before that event, the rental company called and said, you can't do that. In Pennsylvania in the US that year, there was a drought, and they were prohibited from renting out something which required 500 gallons of water. So the rental store owner asked us, do we want to rent something else? And I said, no, we'll figure it out. So my wife and I sat down at our kitchen table and we said, how might we deliver something which has somebody get totally wet and somebody throws a target, that dunk tank experience, without 500 gallons? And what we came up with and then crafted ourselves is a game that's now called Pitch Burst. And it is where a small water balloon is hung over somebody's head and somebody throws the ball, hits the target, and it pops the water balloon, the water falls down, and they get all wet. In a hot summer day, that's just a wonderful visual game to play. That's a lot of fun. We made that first one for that carnival by going to, in the US, the chain is Home Depot. We bought plywood. We bought from a sporting goods store a basketball rim and hung it over there so we could put the water balloon in it. We crafted a toggle with a target so it would push into it. And that's what we used at that carnival that day. It was 40 degrees centigrade, 95 degrees Fahrenheit, very hot and sweaty that day. So it was a very strong hit at the carnival. They made hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So we figured this is a great idea. The next day people called and they said, hey, where can I get a game like that? What's going on? That's when my business development hat started working, and it said, this could be a real business. So the first step we did was to see if it was something we could get a patent on. Had that been done before? When we discovered it had not, we hired a lawyer and then got the patent started. We also then, with the provisional patent, we had evidence to go to a bank and got a small business administration loan for a lot of money, $100,000. And we spent that money on developing 100 units of this game that we had developed out of wood, and all the rest of the money on marketing in the US and around the world to rental companies and party companies who would buy this to rent it for their customers. And we thought, this is going to be exciting. So in that first few months during the winter here, he sold to 60 rental companies, 60 of these units. They sat in storage until the warm weather came, and then we were just looking forward to we could sell more and more and more. I could quit my job. It's going to be a wonderful thing. But then the uh-oh happened. You might say, something else, but the phone calls that we got from our customers didn't say, what a wonderful game this is. They were saying, what a piece of crap you sold me. The wooden pieces are falling apart, the screws fall out, and the beautiful logo panel we had stuck on there, it was peeling off. They were very, very upset. We realized after the 10th call that what we had produced and sold, was not fit for business. We had to take a big step back, first take care of the customers we sold to. And I'm good. If I sold you something, I'll go in my own pocket to fix it. So we gave spare parts, repairs, and many times a refund to people who were unhappy with this. But we asked each of them, we know that was not a construction that was fit for purpose, but the idea, what do you think of that? And they all said, this is a very strong idea. I wish you would make it more durable. So with a bigger loan, we went further into debt. We hired an engineer to create it for us out of steel. That was a long time ago. It took us 2 years to get the steel unit ready and produced, but finally that was the answer that we wished we had done in the first place. And that game, I sold the patents and trademarks to another company a few years ago, but that's still being sold today. So hard learnings that taught me I should think better before acting. That is, to test in real rental conditions, would my wooden thing hold up? I would have discovered soon, no, it doesn't, because we had kind of coddled it a little bit when we had our first one, and it worked great for that one day. Yeah. But when it goes day after day after day, it wasn't made to work. But now it does. So that was a key lesson. I know when we corresponded by email, you asked what are the key mistakes entrepreneurs make. One of them is not understanding their customer well enough. In my case, the commercial rental store that rents to consumers, I didn't see that rough handling would happen, that I'd have to make something more durable.
Yeah, so true.
So it was a hard lesson. I'm glad it's behind me. But now I'm happy to talk about it because I realized in researching for my book, I'm not the only one. Everyone makes mistakes. Sometimes they're fatal. Sometimes they're not. And you always want to learn from your mistakes. But my perspective is if it's possible and you can prevent it, that's even better.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, William. So, Williams, you actually spent nearly 40 years in your corporate innovation. How did that prepare you for working with startup and small business owner?
Interesting. Great question. My university training and then my on-the-job training in corporate helped me understand how to market, how to first think of your customer, understand their experience, and then design a product or do something you will be selling as a service or a product to them. It helped me understand excellence and clarity in communication. In my brand jobs at Bayer, I ran very large advertising budgets, and we would waste our money if we're not sure that the message was relevant to our customer and was the best way to communicate that. We did that with a lot of market research dollars to confirm things. What else did I learn in corporate? It is important to have a support structure, teams. So often when I was in my game business, I felt very alone. A lot of the time, my wife and I, we felt alone because nobody else had ever gone through this experience. But in fact, they had. A learning from the corporate side is it is possible to find people you can bounce ideas off. People you can say, what do you think of this? People say, how do I do this? In the US, the organizational part of SCORE is someone you can call and do that for free. You can also find experts, senior family members, people who've been in business before, even if it's not the same business. They have a brain and they've been through the process and they can say, you said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You forgot 6. It's really important. Or I like to say you can talk to experts, mentors, or naive observers. You can talk to a child, a 10-year-old, and said, my business, I build houses or I put roofs on. I'm going to do something new. Look at this. What do you think? And the child will give you, it's not stupid. It's a naive question, but it helps you get a new frame to look at what the opportunity, what the problem is.
Wow.
So those were 3 takeaways. There were more from the corporate world that I think absolutely relate to the entrepreneurial lifestyle.
Wow. Amazing. Thanks for sharing, Williams. How can founders spot blind spots before they turn into expensive blunders from your own experience? Founders.
Yeah. It's about, the very simple answer is think smartly and be more aware. But I know that that's too easy. It's too simple because life is hard. When you are worried about your sales, your customers, your competition, your cost of goods, your margins, and all of the things of a day-to-day business, especially in the services area where you are customer focused and seeing them every day, it's easy never to think about things which could put you at risk. So the tools I talk about, there are many, many tools that can help you. They suggest ways to be smarter and more aware. One of them, if it's a new venture, is to try something called a pre-mortem. If you're about to launch something new, You know what a postmortem is? That a doctor or pathologist will say, this person's dead, here's what killed them. A premortem is a free exercise you can do before any trouble starts. And that is, I tell you to put on a piece of paper, what is your proposition? What are you going to do? Now, and you can do this yourself or with friends or with your work colleagues. Now you can say, imagine it's 2 years from now. Before we do anything, it's 2 years from now, and your proposition was this. Instead of succeeding, it absolutely failed. You're imagining it absolutely failed. Then you brainstorm together, what are the things that killed that business? And you can say, well, we had the wrong customer. Or in my case, you made it out of wood and it's not durable enough. Or any of those lists, you come up with 10, 20, 30 reasons why it died. And it's all imaginary, but they're real considerations. Then you look at that list, you look at what are the most likely ones and the ones with the highest likelihood of having bad impact. You see what are the worst ones. And then you brainstorm together, how might we change our plan today so that we avoid that problem tomorrow? So a premortem is one of those tools that helps visualize what could happen before it happens. For free, avoid it. Another is to look very closely at yourself. I've done some studies and learned that stress, fatigue, and distraction are 3 of the worst things that happen to entrepreneurs because it takes their eye off the ball. So one tool is to understand yourself better. Understand, me personally, which of those or some other factors are the ones that, if I look back on my past mistakes, most contributed to them. So you can create a profile for yourself that says, in my case, and it's true, when I'm exhausted, I tend to make bad choices, or I gloss over important steps. So a learning to learn your own tendencies helps you then make a plan and put out reminders to yourself. Don't do it if you're too tired, if you're being distracted, or you need to take the time to focus on this. There are 2 things I can give you there, and I can give your readers, your listeners. One of them is in the book. It's a tool that's called Look in the Mirror. And it's a very simple, you get a blank page and you list your recent big mistakes. This is by yourself. You're being honest. You don't have to tell anybody else. And then you list down another side of the page. There's 12 possible reasons. Then you connect them and see which of the mistakes you've already made were caused by those factors. And you can make your own little profile. And then if you know it's distraction, if it's accepting assumptions which are not proven, if it's other things, you can make yourself notes, even Post-its on your wall, to remind yourself, don't do it that way.
Oh, wow.
The other thing is almost ready to publish, and at the end of this talk, I will give you my website. But on that website, maybe by the time this podcast is posted, there will be a self-quiz. It's called the Business Mistake Prevention Quiz. It's 12 questions. You can use it on your phone. You answer them all, and then it gives you your personal risk of making business mistakes based on those 12 behaviors. And it's not that we just made this up. We did a study of 250 entrepreneurs, had them take all 12 of those, so it's normalized. And you can see I'm better than most or I'm worse than most. And it gives you not only that, you can download for free a document which includes, if you are most bothered by stress, here are 4 tools you can use just to avoid mistakes caused by stress.
Wow.
And so on.
Amazing. I think this is really, really lovely. More like at first say think smartly and be more aware of using the exercise to actually more like especially those things that are modern to which what could actually work. So look very closely at yourself, fear, fatigue, and distraction. Yeah, thank you so much for these details. I think it's really, really key. So why do you say that other people's mistakes are actually a gift?
Yes. Thank you for asking that. Yes, Warren Buffett, the American trillionaire or billionaire or however much money he has, he said it this way: it's good to learn from mistakes. but it's better to learn from other people's mistakes. And the best example, my book has many examples of this. I call the art of learning from other people's mistakes ology. It brings in the but now it's not a science, but it sounds like one. And what you do when you see in the news in your community something bad happen, you can look at it through your own lens. So you observe and understand what happened, but then you think and apply, how might that relate to my business? What lesson can I learn? There's a very, very dramatic example that I wrote about, and it was many years ago, who was asked to take a video film of another couple, an instructor and a student, who were also jumping out of the plane that day. This was before GoPro. This is before smartphones. They had a film camera that he had strapped to his chest. They got up to 10,000 feet in the small plane. They said, okay, let's go. Thumbs up. This guy's name was Ivan McGuire. Ivan jumps out of the plane, faces upwards, looks up, and then moves the camera so he can get the right shot. The other couple jumps out of the plane, and it was a beautiful shot of them doing that. They pulled their ripcords, their parachutes open, spectacular shot. Then Ivan's ready to pull his ripcord, which is supposed to be here. He had forgotten his parachute that day. Ivan McGuire died because of this. The camera was still alive, and they showed the films later. But it was a terrible, tragic mistake. The purpose of mentioning this in uh-ohology is certainly not to celebrate anything. But any business can say, if there's about your business, one thing you can never, ever forget, that if you forgot it even once, it could be disastrous or very dangerous for you or your business. I think of a retailer in a store who leaves and forgets to lock his front door and things are stolen. Or a restaurant where they're cooking and they forget at night to turn off the pilot or whatever safety measure, and it burns down. Or the person who's responsible for renewing insurance, if bad things happen, lets the policy lapse. Then something happens but any business person, a tradesperson, can think, what would be the wrong thing for me? If I install roofs and I'm up on the roof and I don't have my safety harness on, it's like Ivan McGuire. It's very dangerous. So that's one very dramatic example of learning from others. The art of it is to be observant and looking for examples you can learn from. There was in New York recently, there was a Mexican tall ship that was in New York Harbor and backed into the Brooklyn Bridge, so it broke a lot of its masts. That was because they didn't have good processes in place, a checklist to go through before they begin to take off. So not having systems is another thing that entrepreneurs can often make that mistake. They keep it in their head and they don't systematize what should I do, especially when it comes to avoiding dangers.
Yeah, I think this is really key. Just speak volume to every business that we actually currently see now. It's either a renovation or it's more like either building on the idea that we have seen before, or just more like a little things towards another different end. We simply means there are others who have actually gone through that route and they have made a couple of mistakes. So being as an entrepreneur is an added advantage, knowing the mistake they have made, so that you actually get to avoid a whole lot of series of them. Because from what you just make reference of with the issue of this, the photographer, the person was able to take the pictures. He lost his life owing to the process of trying to capture the scene, seeing the essence, which is more of the structures. Yeah, it really speaks volumes. Just avoiding the quotes, a whole lot of people saying, learn from your experience. Not all experience you might live to stay alive to tell. So learn from other people's experience and actually stay alive, so that at the end of the day, you could actually tell the stories.
Staying alive, things are important. Staying alive, not losing your family fortune, not getting into wars and terrible things too.
Yeah.
By mistakes.
Yeah, thank you. So what role does mindset play in mistake prevention?
Extremely important that you keep in your day-to-day job. It's so easy, especially if you're a tradesman and you're working with customers. You're in the moment and you're thinking of the job and you're thinking of how to get it done and how to finish it so I can get home to my kids, all the day-to-day stuff. It's really important to keep a broader perspective, to be aware of what's around you, what's happening, what you're doing. One example I found was changing your frame of reference. The artist Picasso was said to, when he was nearly finished with a painting, he would hang it upside down to look at it from another perspective. I think the children's author Dr. Seuss did something similar with his drawings and his books. Looking at it from a different perspective on purpose can help you see a gap or something that you would otherwise have missed if you didn't take that extraordinary step. That goes along with asking other people, but when you're by yourself, force yourself to have another perspective. Be careful when you realize you're on automatic. You're doing things routinely without thinking about them. That's when mistakes are going to happen too. I used to work in New York City in Manhattan, and I would leave my office and walk 15 blocks to the train station. And there were days that I got to the train or got home and I could not remember what I saw walking through because it was so automatic. Go here, turn here. Yeah. Always when you're looking for solutions and you're thinking more with a different perspective, if you have a problem, always look for the other right answer. That is, it's easy to jump to conclusions. Okay, the problem here, do that. Pause and say, how else might we solve this? When I went to my pitch burst game that I described earlier, my question set that I learned from corporate was, how might we have that experience without the constraint of the 500 gallons? The term, how might we, is a wonderful tool by itself to make you think not of a single answer, but multiple ones you can consider. Now, that can slow you down. Don't do that all the time. But when it's important and you want to be sure you've considered everything, how might we is a nice tool.
Wow. Amazing. Thanks for sharing, Williams. So through your work with SCORE, what common struggle do you see amongst startup founders?
Especially with startups here in the US, I see people come for help when they have not even thought about what their business is about. They haven't really thought. I call it business planning. And it's the basics of, what is your product or service? Why is it different? Who is your customer and why do they care? Who are your competitors and how do you have to compete on features, on price and everything else? And then what is your business model? Where does the money go? Where does the money come from? Those are 6 or 7 things that most entrepreneurs have in their head, or they say, I want to open a pizza restaurant, and they go start buying things, and they don't understand the economics enough to know whether they could succeed or not. So we, in SCORE, we coach people, we mentor them on developing a business plan and thinking through many of the what ifs. It first helps them clarify what their main proposition is, because it's many times that's not even clarified in their own minds. But then you could look at, all right, if I do that and the numbers tell me I'm not going to be profitable, you can challenge yourself and say, what if my price was different? What if I had more or less features in my product, or adjusted what service I'm doing so it can meet the margin requirements to help me be profitable? Because nobody wants to be in a business and lose money. That's not why anybody does it, unless it's a charity, which is a whole different purpose.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. So for someone just starting their entrepreneurial journey, what is the first step to avoid preventive blunders?
I would go back to what I was just talking about. Put it on paper. Maybe first, if you want to start a business, the first step before putting it on paper is spend time with your prospect or your potential customers. Understand what their problem is. Then you can design or buy solutions that answer that problem, hopefully in a way nobody else does. Then you can build a plan around that. I said that many entrepreneurs don't come with a plan. Many others never met a customer. They decide I want to go into the sporting goods archery business because that's what they enjoy, but they never talk to anybody who, besides them, ever bought a bow, an arrow, or had to set it up, or how to do it. Those are just examples. But a large part of the time, I don't have numbers to quote, there is not enough understanding of customer experience. And then once they have the customer experience nailed, it's really important to put it on paper and then get other people's feedback, especially people who've been down that same road before, so you can avoid making their mistakes again.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks a whole lot for giving that. So how can founders create more like a culture in their business that reduce preventive mistake for a company that is already existing?
So you're talking about a culture of their business?
Yeah.
How do they make that so they make fewer mistakes?
Yeah.
They can build in many things. You want to get your systems documented. So if you're manufacturing, or if you do customer facing work, or you do repairs, document somehow, this is how the right way to do things is. So when it's not just you, an employee or a partner's there, they can look at the same thing. It's important that everybody in the business understand the overall mission and what the keys to success are. If not, you'll have people making up new things to do that don't belong, that don't help achieve the mission. And you get diluted, and it's not good. Communication is critical. When it's in America, small businesses, more than half are one-person businesses. The people who are tradesmen, the people who are musicians, the people who do these. But about 30 or 40% are more than one person. And when that's the case, communication is critical. So every day when you're in business, you observe what happened that day, talk about that, and draw successes and failures and draw lessons from them for your next time. If you're working against a business plan, review that together and then adjust it. By the way, a business plan is really critical, but it's a waste of time if you write it up and put it away in a drawer. It needs to be active so that if you are in the poultry business and you know your regular purchase of eggs to grow chickens is 50, and if you learn that you could have sold 400, well, fix your business plan so you can take advantage of that big opportunity. Or the opposite, if something's not working, change your plan. Probably your goals in the end don't change, but how you get there must change as you learn.
Wow, amazing. Oh, so Willis, tell us about your book and what my audience can actually get from getting it.
Okay, the book, I'll hold it up if it's there. Ooh, it's called Uh-Oh in English, How to Avoid Unintentional Blunders That Derail Entrepreneurial Success and Goof-Proof Your Business. Goof-Proof is my words. The first half of this book is some academic work on what failure is and why failing sometimes is good. When you want to learn new ways to make medicines, it's a lot of trial and error. So those failures are good. The dumb ones, the stupid ones, the ones you could prevent are the ones you want to avoid. So the book has a part of what is that about? The second is my own story in my game business. How did that work and what did I learn? A third part is famous blunders like the parachuter and what you can take from it. And then the back half of the book, the fourth part, is the 10 tools that I recommend to avoid mistakes. I could list them or you can find them online. But each one, some are very involved, some are as simple as look in the mirror that I described earlier. But each one is a different way a person or their team can work together to think more smartly and be more aware.
Oh, think more smartly.
I don't give guarantees. You have to do the work.
Yeah.
But these tools in your hands, I guarantee will make you think. Then it's up to you to think more smartly and put them to work.
Wow. Amazing. So looking ahead, what do you hope entrepreneurs take away from your work and also from your book? If there was to be just one single word you wanted to take away from your work and your books?
Be more successful. And those are 3 words. Because everybody cares about their own business and you're always looking for ways to succeed better. My proposition is that to succeed better make fewer mistakes. Because many of them, not all of them, some of them just happen because you learn, but many of them are preventable if you put some tools to work, if you think smartly and be more aware. I actually say many times when I'm interviewed, I tell people fixing mistakes is expensive. Preventing them is priceless. And it's true.
William, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today. How can our audience connect with you? How can they get your work? And what platform can they buy your work, reach out to you, do business with you? Or what platform?
Yes, two things. One is my website. It is my name. I'll spell it. It's WilliamHolsten.com. WilliamHolsten.com. And the book, the book, is available in Africa on Amazon.
Amazing. So apart from that, do you have any social media where they can connect with you, or more like just reach out?
I'm sorry?
Well, that's
How to
social
get
media.
connected to? I'm also,
Okay.
yeah, you can also find me on LinkedIn by my name, William Holsten.
Thank you, William. So thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today. I love how you have reframed our mistake not as a shameful failure, but an opportunity to learn and prevent future setback. For those listening, you can actually explore more of William's work, including his book, and grab his free self-analysis tools at williamshosting.com. Until next time, keep building smart and stay resilient. And remember, success isn't about growth. It's about avoiding mistakes that can stop you from getting there. It's really a pleasure having you on the show, Williams.
Thank you, Aro. I was very happy to be here.